How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another video. I am extremely excited today because, as you saw in the title, we are talking about exhaust. Now, if you have been following my YouTube channel for a little while, you probably know that I recently replaced the exhaust manifold and installed some JBA headers. Now, honestly, even after I installed the JBA headers, with the stock exhaust system, it did not sound that different. There was no way I could install brand new headers and not be able to hear it. So of course, the only logical option was to do a full custom exhaust, and that is exactly what we did. Now, I am not a welder, but my buddy Canyon, who also lives out here in the Central Oregon area, is super awesome guy, and he helped me do a full custom exhaust for the Sequoia. I've linked his Instagram in the description of this video, so definitely go check out his work. But yeah, today I just want to spend a little bit of time kind of talking about the exhaust and sharing my opinion on it. I've taken about a month now to kind of experience it, drive it around, drive it in a bunch of different situations, both on the highway, on a couple longer trips, on trails, and just to and from work. And now that I've spent some time with it, I just want to share my honest opinion to you guys and yeah, just talk about exhaust today. I want to start by giving you guys a breakdown of what we did for the full exhaust, starting from the headers going all the way back. So up front, coming right out of the engine block, we have the JBA headers. I made a video on the full process of installing those on my Sequoia. You may have seen it by now. If you haven't, it's on my channel if you're interested and want to check that out. Did a full video on that. So we got some JBA shorty headers. These things are awesome. They've been great so far. Coming off of the headers, I actually just have the stock exhaust piping. There were a couple of reasons I kept the exhaust piping stock here. For one, they both had catalytic converters already installed in them. We thought about removing the catalytic converters, but then you get check engine light and have to deal with the codes just because it throws off the O2 sensors. So I figured I didn't want to mess with that. I didn't want to have a check engine light all the time. Even though you can clear those codes, I just didn't want to mess with that at all, and ideally wanted to keep the catalytic converters just for out here in Oregon. So coming off of the headers, those downpipes on both the driver and passenger side are just stock with the catalytic converters. Coming off of the catalytic converter and the downpipes, this is where the custom exhaust starts. So we used 3-inch stainless steel for all of our exhaust work, and this is where that 3-inch piping starts. Now on the driver's side, the 3-inch pipe goes a little bit back, and then it cuts over and connects into the passenger side. The passenger side, after it leaves the downpipe, it's just 3-inch pipe straight back all the way until we get to the axle. So basically what we did is we did a Y from the driver's side over and connecting to the passenger side. Again, this is all 3-inch stainless steel. If you follow that 3-inch stainless steel on the passenger side, it goes all the way until the axle. Our plan was to do all 3-inch exhaust up and over the axle and out the back, but this is where we ran into a couple of problems. The space you have over the axle is super small, especially once that axle is flexed. If you're off-roading, that gap that you have shrinks even more. So we were trying to use 3-inch pipe to go up and over the axle, but we honestly could not get that to fit. It would have been a whole bunch of bends and weird angles. We probably would have had to flatten the pipe as well. It would have just been a high chance that there was rattling in contact, especially off-roading. So what we ended up doing here is we just got an exhaust reducer. I think the stock exhaust is 2.5-inch, but I cannot remember exactly. But anyway, we got an exhaust reducer from 3-inch to 2.5-inch, and we just cut that little stock section to go up and over the axle. This made it so much easier than trying to make a custom piece to go up and over. We just used that section that had all of the correct bends, and we knew that it wasn't going to contact the axle or kind of just the bottom of the Sequoia. So we just ended up using that stock section there. It made it a whole lot easier and worked perfectly. Once we got up and over the axle, we cut the stock section off and just used another reducer, this time to go from 2.5-inch to 3-inch, and then just out the back with a tailpipe. The tailpipe is all 3-inch. So pretty much all custom. We did use stock pipe just to go over the axle, and then just kept the stock downpipes. But other than that, the headers and then the whole middle section and tailpipe of the exhaust is all custom, all 3-inch stainless steel. That's a little breakdown of what we did with the exhaust. Again, huge shout out to Canyon for making this all possible. This setup has been absolutely perfect for me so far. Now that I've given you guys a breakdown on the exhaust system, I want to move in and talk a little bit about the sound, cold starts, how loud it is, and just a little bit in that area. I've always had a super hard time with exhaust systems on a couple of the other cars I've owned, trying to find the perfect balance. For me personally, I love being able to hear the exhaust from inside the car, but lots of times this means that you have to have it a little bit louder on the outside. It's hard to find that perfect balance where it's not extremely loud outside, but also being able to hear it on the inside. I've had a couple different exhaust setups with the Sequoia so far. I had a muffler delete. This sounded good, but the drone was absolutely horrible. It was so bad that when I first tried to take it on a longer road trip, I had to pull over and get earplugs because it was hurting my ears so bad. So I had that. Then I got a MagnaFlow muffler and put that on. That setup sounded decent outside, but I really couldn't hear it on the inside. And again, one of my biggest goals with exhaust is really being able to hear it from the inside of the cabin as well, just a little bit. So that setup was a little bit too quiet. And let me just tell you, this setup that we have now is absolutely perfect. It strikes the perfect balance between being able to hear it on the inside, being able to get that nice exhaust sound, but not being so loud on the outside that it's just obnoxious. Before I talk more about how it sounds, I want you guys to listen, so I'm going to show some clips of cold starts, flybys, revving it, and you guys can decide how you like it. There was a look at the exhaust setup. It's definitely on the louder side of things, but let me tell you guys, it really doesn't get that loud until over 3,000 RPMs. And that's what I really love about this setup. If you're gentle on the gas, you can keep it quiet, you can keep it mellow, but as soon as you want to hear it roar, give it some more gas and it opens up and it's a lot louder. It's not loud all the time, not quiet all the time. It's that perfect happy medium where you're in control and you can either have it be quiet, you can have it be loud. It's really up to you, and really why I love this setup so much. If I had to rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being super quiet like a stock exhaust, and 10 being like a super loud straight piped car, I'd probably give it around a 6 or 7. If you're keeping it under 3,000 RPMs, it's probably in the 5 to 6 range. If you're up above 3,000 RPMs, it's probably more of a 7 or 8 in terms of loudness. But again, it's a nice balance, and you really have control over how loud you want it to be. Now, one of the questions I know you guys are probably wondering about, because this question always comes up with exhaust systems, is the drone on the highway. Now, it's definitely not the best. I will say that there is definitely a little bit of drone when you're driving. Depending on your speed though, you can really control this. I've noticed that if you are under 55 miles per hour, the drone is very minimal. If you're right around the 60 to 65, the drone is a lot worse. And then anything over 65 and the drone kind of quiets down again. I don't know exactly why this is, just the RPM range that you're in, but you can kind of adjust your speed to adjust the drone. What I will say though is, compared to when I just had a muffler delete, you wouldn't even call this drone, guys. When I did that muffler delete, I have no idea why, but that setup droned so bad. Like I said, I had to pull over and get earplugs the first time I tried to take it on a road trip. That setup was almost undrivable for longer road trips. With this setup, however, I feel totally fine taking it on longer trips. I've driven it on a couple 3 or 4 hour trips, and it has been perfectly fine. Yeah, it can be a little bit loud, but it's not to the point where you're gonna have to pull over and get earplugs like that old setup. So yeah, loud, but perfectly fine for me. So that was a look at the exhaust system for my first gen Toyota Sequoia. I know I've said it multiple times in this video, but this setup is just perfect for me. It's the perfect balance. I still feel like I can daily drive it. It sounds awesome. I love hearing the 2UZFE, hearing that V8. This thing sounds amazing, and I could not be more happy with this setup. So that is going to wrap it up for this one. If you guys have any questions, if you guys have any comments, drop them below. Let me know how you think it sounds. I'm curious to hear your guys' opinion on this as well. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support really does help me out, and I really do appreciate it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next